My brother lied to get my share of Grandma's will. So I made sure the truth came out at the reading. You can tell a lot about a person by how they behave at a funeral. Some cry too hard. Some pretend to cry. Some just show up to be seen. And then, there's my brother. Todd. Todd wore Gucci sunglasses to Grandma's funeral. Not because it was sunny. We were indoors. No. He wore them because he wanted to hide the fact that he wasn't crying at all. But I could still see the smirk under those $500 frames. Let me back up. Grandma Margaret was sharp. She smelled like mint tea and sarcasm, and always kept her house at 65 degrees no matter the season. She raised me more than my own parents ever did. She was tough, fair, a little dramatic, but she loved me. She loved Todd too, even if he was the charm before harm type. You know the kind. Smiles in public, lies in private. She used to say, "People show you who they are when money's involved. Watch carefully." Well, Grandma, I watched, and I saw everything. It started 6 months before she died. She called me into her room, no warning, no small talk. Just the way she always did. "I need to change my will," she said, eyes like daggers behind her tortoiseshell glasses. "I want things to be fair." Fair meant 50-50, Todd and I, equal shares of her estate, her house, her investments, her vintage coin collection, that could fund a college tuition. Everything. She had a lawyer draw it up while I was there. I signed something saying I was a witness. Todd wasn't even in town. He was too busy consulting, which is Todd speak for selling overpriced crypto advice to people who shouldn't own a computer. Anyway, the point is, I saw that new will, with my own eyes. I knew what was in it, or so I thought. Fast forward. Grandma passes, peacefully, in her sleep. And yes, I was devastated. I didn't have time to process it because Todd started acting weird the second she took her last breath. He swooped in like a vulture, told the nurse to give him all of her medications, said it was for proper disposal. Funny, considering he barely knew what medications she was on. Then, he asked if there was a key to her safety deposit box. Right in front of me. No shame. The next day, he calls the family lawyer, and suddenly, things got murky. I tried calling Mr. Halpern, Grandma's lawyer, for days. Nothing. Straight to voicemail. Then Todd announces with a perfectly staged pout that the will would be read privately. Just family. No lawyers. No paperwork. Just us. My gut screamed liar, but I waited. At the funeral, he was all crocodile tears and back pats. He gave a speech about how Grandma Margaret was the glue of this family, while I stood in the back like a ghost at my own wedding, watching everyone eat it up. Even Aunt Linda, who knew better. Even Dad, who hadn't spoken to Grandma in 5 years. I wanted to scream. Instead, I smiled, nodded, played my part. Then came the final blow. 3 days later, Todd sent out a group email. Subject, Final Will of Margaret Ellison. He attached a PDF, no letterhead, no lawyer's note. Just a scanned copy of what looked like an old will. One that said everything, house, assets, stocks, was going to Todd. Me? Got the car. A 2007 Buick with a busted AC and a dent in the door from when Grandma mistook a mailbox for a trash can. I sat there staring at the screen, mouth dry. The dates didn't match. The signature looked shaky. And the witness? Some guy named Ricky T. I don't know any Ricky T, do you? And then it hit me. Todd had swapped the will, or destroyed the real one, or maybe both. Now I know what you're thinking. Call the cops, lawyer up, sue him. Oh, sweet summer child. I tried, but without proof. It's Todd's word against mine. And Todd is a master liar. He once convinced our mom that I put a frog in her purse. I was 8. I was also out of town at the time. Didn't matter. Todd could sell sand in the desert if it meant attention. So I waited and plotted. You don't survive a childhood with Todd without learning how to play the long game. I started with the lawyer, Mr. Halpern. I showed up at his office unannounced. It was weirdly quiet. His assistant looked nervous when I asked about Grandma's will. Oh, Mr. Halpern retired. she said, fidgeting. Like, last month. Last month? Right after Grandma died? Huh. I asked who took over his files. She blinked. Said they were in transition, whatever that meant. But then, luck, or maybe karma. Because as I turned to leave, I noticed a door slightly ajar. Halpern's office, empty desk, empty shelves. But one file sat on the window ledge, half open, labeled Ellison Margaret. I looked at the assistant. She was on the phone. And yes, I took the file. Don't look at me like that. It was mine. Or half mine. Inside was a copy of the will I had witnessed, dated 3 months before she died. Signed. Stamped. With my signature as witness. The one Todd claimed didn't exist. Bingo. I made copies, took photos, backed it all up to the cloud, my laptop, a USB stick, and my work drive. If I could have tattooed it on my skin, I would have. Now, I had options, but I didn't want a courtroom battle. No, I wanted something better. Public humiliation, because if there's one thing Todd loves more than money, it's reputation. So I waited for the reading of the will. The one Todd said he was organizing. It was going to be at Grandma's house, of course. The one she left to him, according to his fake will. He even hired a notary to make it official, invited family, friends, even a local journalist, under the excuse of celebrating Grandma's legacy. How poetic. He had no idea what was coming. Because I had a flash drive in my purse, and one hell of a plan. There's a moment, right before a bomb goes off, when everything is silent. Too silent. You feel it in your bones, that thick, expectant quiet, the calm. Todd called it a private will reading and memorial celebration. I called it a show, and I had front row seats, to my own revenge. Grandma's house looked unrecognizable. Todd had remodeled in the tackiest way imaginable. He replaced her antique wallpaper with gray paint so flat it made depression feel like an upgrade. Her old piano was gone, sold probably. And he'd turned the den into what he called a networking lounge. It had LED lights, in Grandma's house. Margaret Ellison would have risen from the grave just to slap him. Everyone arrived like it was a brunch, not a legal proceeding. Mimosas, bite-sized quiches even, a catered cheese board that screamed new money. Todd stood near the fireplace, holding a glass of rosé, acting like he hadn't gutted our family history for clout and cash. And there I was, pretending not to know everything. Todd strutted around, greeting people like he was the mayor of a town no one asked to live in. "Thank you all for coming," he said loudly, clinking his glass. Grandma wanted us to be together during this time. I think she'd be smiling down on us. If she were smiling, it would be because she knew I was about to ruin you, I thought. He gestured to a man in a cheap suit who looked like he got his notary license from a vending machine. "This is Mr. Larson. He'll be reading the will. Please, everyone, take a seat." We sat in the living room. Same layout, different energy. The last time we were all there, Grandma was alive and threatening to haunt anyone who touched her coin collection before she was in the ground. Now it was just Todd's stage. Larson began reading. And wouldn't you know, it was Todd's version, the fake will. He read every word like it was gospel, even the part where Grandma supposedly left everything to Todd. And me? I got the Buick. Again. I even smiled when people turned to me, whispering, "Oh, honey, she must have really loved your brother." As if I were some failure of a granddaughter who got what she deserved. I bit my tongue. Let them think it. For 5 more minutes. Todd stood to say a few words afterward. "She was the rock of this family," he said, hand on his chest like a politician. "And I promised to honor her legacy. This house, her assets. I'll use them to keep our family strong." Translation. I'm going to Airbnb her home and sell her jewelry on Etsy. I waited until the final applause died out. Yes, people applauded. That's how good of a manipulator Todd was. He had Aunt Linda crying, and Cousin Joey clapping like it was open mic night. Then I stood. "Actually," I said calmly, "I have something to share." Todd froze. His face twitched, just slightly. Enough for me to know he was scared. I was recently cleaning out my old files, I said. And I found something interesting. I pulled the flash drive from my purse and waved it casually like it was nothing. Grandma updated her will 3 months before she passed. I witnessed it myself. And it's legally notarized, unlike that one. I nodded at the paper in Larson's hands. Gasps. Literal gasps. People turned to each other like I'd just dropped a murder confession. Todd tried to laugh. Oh, she's confused. We went over this. That will wasn't valid. Right, I said. Except it is. It's filed with Mr. Halpern, who retired but forgot to shred things properly. Oops. Larson looked at Todd. You said this was the only version. Todd shrugged. It is. The other one, it wasn't signed correctly. It didn't hold up. Funny, I said, stepping forward. Because I've got a video of Grandma signing it. She asked me to record it on her iPad. You know how she loved dramatics. Todd turned white. I plugged the flash drive into the TV. And there she was. Grandma Margaret, wrapped in her teal robe, hair perfectly set, saying directly to the camera, I, Margaret Ellison, revoke all previous wills and declare this one to be my final wishes. Yes, Todd, I know you'll try something sneaky. And yes, I still love you. But your sister has always been more loyal. The room went dead silent, except for Cousin Joey, who whispered, Holy shut. The notary looked shaken. Todd opened his mouth, but nothing came out, so I finished it for him. The real will leaves everything 50-50, and I have notarized copies, filed, witnessed, dated, stamped, and public. I smiled sweetly. Oh, and since this reading included a misrepresentation of legal documents, it's now a matter for probate court. Todd lunged toward the TV like smashing it would undo everything. Don't listen to her. She's manipulating you. Projection's a hell of a drug, I said. People started getting up, walking away. Aunt Linda muttered something about always knew something was off. The notary packed up so fast he nearly forgot his briefcase. I walked over to Todd, calm as a sleeping cat. Just curious, I said. Was it worth it? Swapping the wills, faking a signature, risking jail time, for a Buick? Todd didn't answer, just stared at me with something between hate and panic. Don't worry, I added. I'm not pressing charges. Yet. I want to see how fast you move out of this house first. I turned to leave. And behind me, I heard something. Break, maybe a glass? Maybe Todd's ego, honestly? Both. Let me start by saying, I didn't intend to destroy my brother's life. Okay, that's a lie. I absolutely did. I just wanted it to look like a beautiful accident. After the will reading disaster, which I now lovingly refer to as the implosion, Todd vanished, literally, like a raccoon that hears the trash can lid slam shut. One day he was drinking overpriced rosé in Grandma's living room. The next, he ghosted every family member and deactivated all his socials. But he wasn't gone. Just hiding, because people don't disappear when they owe the IRS, 2 credit cards, and a furious sister with legal power. They crawl into the shadows and pray no one's watching. I was watching. See, Grandma didn't just leave me half of everything. She left me her journals. All of them. And Margaret Ellison didn't just write feelings. She documented receipts. Meticulously, for instance, she'd written down every time she lent Todd money, every bank transaction, every gift, trip, tuition payment, all the things he swore he earned by being her caretaker. Spoiler alert, he wasn't. Grandma had paid for his live-in nurse when his back went out. She covered his mortgage when he was between jobs. She even paid off the first round of credit card debt he'd racked up buying a drone and a hot tub. Oh yes, there were receipts. And I packaged them up. I created a little file, nothing too dramatic, just an email with the subject line, A financial timeline of Todd Ellison provided by the late Margaret Ellison herself. Then I sent it to the probate lawyer and Todd's bank. And, because I was feeling generous, our local paper's finance columnist. Guess what? They loved it. Especially the part where Todd had taken out a second mortgage on Grandma's house. Before she died, forging her initials on one of the forms. Yeah, that little networking lounge remodel, funded by fraud.q, the investigations, the court dates, the icy phone calls from our Aunt Linda, who'd already told her golf club friends how Todd was going to build a foundation in Grandma's name. Now they were building a case. But Todd still didn't show up. So I visited the one person he couldn't ignore, his ex-wife. Amanda. She hated me once. But grief has a funny way of making enemies into allies, especially when they share a common goal. Make Todd Ellison pay for everything. Knocked on her door, holding a copy of Grandma's journal and a manila folder. She opened it slowly. "Why are you here?" "I brought you a gift," I said. She frowned. "It's not wine or flowers. It's better. Evidence. Of all the assets Todd hid during your divorce." Amanda blinked. Then slowly, like she was savoring the moment, opened the folder. I watched. Her face change. First confusion, then fury, then delight. "This isn't real." "Oh, it's real," I said. Grandma wrote it all down. Every lie, every withdrawal, every offshore crypto stunt. He thought no one was watching. Amanda looked up. "You know you just gave me everything I need to take him to court, right?" I smiled. "I'm counting on it." That night, I opened a bottle of Grandma's good wine and toasted to Karma, dressed in velvet and pearls. The following week, the real will was certified by the court. Todd's version was tossed out like expired yogurt. The judge didn't even flinch. Turns out forged documents don't hold up well against notarized videos, certified witness signatures, and a dead woman calling you out on camera. I officially inherited half the estate, the house, the bank accounts, the car. And Todd, he got subpoenas. By the time the IRS caught up with him, he was living in a rental apartment with broken blinds and a suspicious stain on the carpet. Amanda had reopened the divorce settlement. The bank had frozen his accounts. And his job at the marketing firm? Gone. Turns out, employers don't love it when your name trends locally under headlines like, "Man accused of forging grandmother's will now faces multiple fraud charges." Oh, and about the house? I kept it, but I didn't live there. I turned it into a grief and estate recovery center for women over 50. We called it Margaret's house. It had a library, a garden, and yes, the coin collection safely restored, in a glass case. No LED lights. Ever. Todd hated that. He once showed up. Unannounced. Rang the bell like it was his home. Answered. He looked hollow. Like all his charm had been drained and replaced with regret and instant coffee. "You ruined my life," he said. I tilted my head. "No, Todd, you ruined it. I just made sure everyone saw it in 4K. He opened his mouth to argue, but I stopped him. "You stole from Grandma. You lied. You committed fraud. And instead of owning up, you tried to erase me. So yeah, I exposed you. And I don't feel bad about it." Silence. Then he looked around. At the garden. The house. The wind chime Grandma had bought in Paris. "She would have forgiven me," he said, voice low. I nodded. She would have. But I'm not her. And I closed the door in his face. Later that night, I sat on the porch with a cup of tea and watched the sunset hit the stained glass window Grandma had installed back in '73. It reflected across the lawn in bursts of red and gold, and I thought, family doesn't always mean forgiveness. Sometimes it means justice. And sometimes it means showing up when the liars think they've already won. Todd thought he was smart, but I had something better, the truth, and a damn good memory.